Welcome, everybody, to the Hugs Not Drugs podcast. I am John Barleycorn, and I want to thank Harry for that rendition of Sketchbook. Great job, you and your band. Always a killer, Harry. I've got two wonderful people here today. John G. has graciously agreed. Thank you, Don, for giving me the script. John G. has graciously agreed to be the co-host of the Hugs Not Drugs podcast. So in the future, you're going to be hearing John G. quite a bit. And Don is whispering in the background. Don K. is our special guest today. And special, I'm using special in many different ways.
Not to be confused with Danny K.
Not to be...
But he too is a comedian.
Okay. All right. This is going to be wild.
Yeah, I'll say. Let me just do the commercial and get the hell out of this. The Road to Wellness Workbook is the sponsor here. The Transformation of Dr. Uggs is the sponsor here, written by John Forlenza-Bailey. One hell of a guy. The Road to Wellness Workbook is a workbook designed to provide education, emotional support, and inspiration to persons suffering from addiction. It offers step-by-step lessons to people striving to turn their lives around regarding abstinence, relapse prevention, family dynamics, and self-assessment to continue to discover self day by day. Recovery's up to you. Mentors help. Journals help. You must exchange and surrender destructive behaviors for constructive ways of handling day-to-day stressors or triggers of life. No one deserves to continue to suffer from active addiction. Get better, do the work. So this workbook you can get on Amazon. You get treatment on the cheap. You get a mentor, and you go through this. If you got a substance abuse problem, in 30 days, you'll have 30 days clean. If you're following directions. If not, God bless you and all the ships at sea. All right. And the other book is The Transformation of Dr. Uggs. It's a fairy tale. It's an original fairy tale by John Forlenza-Bailey, and it explains the progression of the disease of chemical dependency. It's not intended to be a story about blaming others for the acquisition of an illness. This fairy tale is intended to explain how to blame. It is a story of discovery, insight, acceptance, and finally the right choices to live in a drug-free world if one is chemically dependent. I am out, and I'm going to give this over to Don, my co-host, John G. Go for it, John.
Hey, hello, everybody. This is John G. with the Hugs Not Drugs Network, and just wanted to say this is my first time co-hosting, and I am extraordinarily grateful to introduce my longtime and close friend, a man who I've had a lot of respect in his wisdom and what he's been able to teach a lot of us about recovery. So I'm going to turn it over to Don and Don K. And the first question would be, Don, how about we just get a little bit of a short bio, just a little bit about your background before we get into your journey into recovery. Personally, what was it like being educated, and a little bit about your childhood and just growing up in...
truth?
Yeah.
Actually, my mother was like 21 when I was born. It was 1941. They had an event in December that year called Pearl Harbor. And the beginning of World War II, my father went to Europe, spent some time in France, but of course there was no France, so he was involved in the resistance and this and that. And I never have known exactly what, but what did I know? I'm a little kid. I was, in fact, like I say. So there she is. You know about Father Martin and the, what's that thing called? The famous Father Martin films.
Yeah, well, the Chalk Talks.
Chalk Talks.
Chalk Talks, yes.
And he says the four main obstacles to sobriety at the beginning are health, wealth, beauty, and intelligence. She had all four. Later on, he added prescription drugs, pharmaceuticals. But she had all four and lived north of Chicago in this little suburb. But she was not in any way fit to be a mother. The anecdote that I like to invoke is when I would get fussy and crying when I was a few months old, she would put me in an oven. Back then, everything was propane. There was no electric ranges to speak of. But she would put me in an oven, turn on the gas, leave the door open, and not light the oven. And within, I guess, 20 or 30 seconds, I would calm right down because I was just toe up on. In fact, I can feel it now, thinking back, how really soothing and relaxing it was. And so but I think in one of these recovery places I was, they said, when was the first time you got high? You know, and that was not it. It was in the womb was the first time I got high, but from a very early age, that was part of my life. And so when my father got back from World War II, I was about 3.5 years old, and he and his parents had to go around the city, and they finally found me, got custody, court, this, that. And I was then raised in the exact opposite extreme of affluence up in Kenilworth on the North Shore. Servants, a butler and a maid, and the whole deal like that. And that's just how I grew up. So what do I know? And I got in trouble the minute I had a drink. I was 15, first time I had a drink. And that was like, whew, what a relief this is, I stole a bottle of cognac from the old man's liquor supply down in the basement, had that leaded stuff around, and then got the top out, glug, 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 fire. Oh my God. And then about 90 seconds later, up comes the warm glow. Remember that?
Yes.
Now this is more like it. Hi, how you doing, honey? And I could sing like Muddy Waters. I could dance. All my inhibitions around females came down. And from then on, for the next 25 years, I added every kind of ingredient at an early age. And down in the city, shot a lot of drugs, a lot. Ran around like a wild man, raised hell, had fun. Got married a few times. A couple of children here and there, but never any. I was just like a cartoon character. And the result was I finally ran out of gas, came down to Florida, where we are right now. In February of 1972. And partied my way upside down and out of gas and discovered sobriety. And what a miracle that's been.
So after these decades of chasing that the warm, ethereal, blissful glow that we do, trying to find that state that we imagine we belong in, what was really the pivotal moment or a defining moment that made you decide that you wanted to pursue this thing, recovery, and make a change? What was it? Was there any particular moment or event where you decided that you were done and a jumping off point, so to speak?
One of my wives had started going to Al-Anon, so she brought me over to this gal Eileen Diorio's house, and they introduced me to David, Eileen's husband, who was at that time maybe 2 years sober himself. He had done credit and collections for the mob in Cleveland, and he took one look. He was one of the gentlest, wisest, funniest, just innately good guys I've ever met. As a few mob people I've known have been very gentle, kind, beautiful souls, as I'm sure you know too. He took one look and said, "Man, you look like you need a drink." And I was bloodshot and shaken, which was, and so he poured me a nice, stiff, triple, quadruple glass of whiskey, which I went, and it took the sweats and the shakes off me. That was the last drink he ever poured me. He was my sponsor for the next 12 years. But so that night we went to an AA meeting. And these people were warm and happy and laughing. This was in like October of 1980. It was before the treatment industry started to flourish in South Florida. So I was the new guy, and I didn't need no damn 108 question Hazelden guide questionnaire to, are you an alcoholic? Have you ever, wanted to have sex with parakeets while naked in the, your girlfriend's, never mind. I didn't need any of that. There was no doubt in my mind because I was so destroyed. And I felt kindness. I felt a sense of humor. I felt warmth. I felt love. I felt that thing that we come to take, we get in AA. But I, of course, had a couple of bumps in the road, as most of us do. A couple of anecdotes. A guy named Frank Hunt told me when I was laying on a cot in detox, maybe, I don't know, whatever, and bloodshot and sweating. And I'd gotten sober, detoxed 6 weeks earlier. Thank you, I've got it. Here I go. And there I was back shaking on this cot. I looked up, I said, Frank, I can't believe this. Here I am. And he took this cigar out of his mouth, blew smoke in my face, and said, you have a disease. And it hit home. I felt it. Oh, this is really serious.
Oh.
And so that was how I...
So even though initially your denial was broken, you had removed all doubt.
Oh, it didn't stop me from going back out.
But you went back out.
Yes, heavens, yes. Can I say?
Well, you just did. So that's what this
That's
disease
twice.
does.
Do I get 3 or 2 strikes? And anyways, yeah. So, but then, and then Frank said, "You're too sick. AA is great, but you're too sick." So they sent me down to a place in Miami called the Village South, a therapeutic community, and that was great. I had fun down there, and one thing and the next, and I stayed sober for 14 years after that. Got married a couple of times, probably. I'm trying to think. Oh, God. Yeah, no, I got married to this wonderful girl, Margaret. We had 2 sons, Chase and Miles. Oh, Miles first, then Chase. I just saw Chase the other day. Margaret and Chase and I had lunch on Saturday. Today's Monday. In memory of Miles, who died. He breathed his last 6 years ago on the 20th. Today's what, the 23rd?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. From a fentanyl overdose.
Yes.
And so we got together and did some reminiscing about him. He was a good kid, a wonderful, gifted. But fentanyl killed him, like it has so many over the last decade. And so that's tough. Maybe we can get funny here in a minute, but when I first was informed 6 years ago and a few days previously that the paramedics had to jumpstart his heart with paddles, and he was in intensive care down in Fort Lauderdale, and the doctor said he's in critical condition and you and his mother should get down here. I knew what that meant. And something closed up in my guts, in my solar plexus. I couldn't breathe. And the voice within said, please forgive me, but it said, hey, asshole, this isn't about you. This is about Miles. And I could breathe. And I've been able to, from that day to this, 6 years later, by keeping that in mind, that this is no time for Don to be a drama queen, that there's more important things for me to do than to stay attached to my clinging and grasping to my son. This is that, and it's been supremely helpful to me. Maybe it's helped me to be able to help others. We had a friend who recently lost his son in a heartbreaking way, as you know. And I was able to share that with her, and she said it helped tremendously, that we all need to try and get my little wounded, drama queen out of the way and see what's really going on here. That there ain't no big difference between me and you that I should get all bent out of shape about, oh, I feel so bad, and oh, this is my baby, and shut up, Don, And that's as the father. And I believe me, I come to understand no man will ever know what the word mother really means, except from the other side. But to have those feelings, how could we know? We contribute one cell and some energy. And the woman makes that being in her body, with her body, and then goes through. And you hear I did the birth of the two boys with Margaret, and it's painful for the woman. But what about the little kid in there? Very few of us remember what it was like for us to go through that. But boy, whew, so much for trauma therapies. Anyways, so that's all the seriousness I've got in me, I think, except that this deal that we come stumbling in here, and one at a time, everybody surrounds us with love and a sense of humor and some understanding. And, we've doing pretty well as a fellowship.
Yes, and I've heard you say often that, the fellowship is one thing, but, it's like my sponsor told me that I needed more than just the fellowship. I needed the program. So what would be some of the more beneficial tools, or if there was something in particular that gave you this ability to live life on life's terms and to be able to deal with things like the loss of your son?
Well, the first thing that was required of me was to stop lying so much, especially to myself. I can handle this. You don't know who I am. Shut up, Don. You're what we say at the very beginning. In order to get started, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol. Substitute any other chemical you like. We just phrase it. We admitted we were powerless, that our lives had become unmanageable. I can't do anything biologically about the addiction, and my thinking is of less than no value at all when it comes to managing my life. My decisions are catastrophic. I'm a train wreck. If I'm lucky, I'm headed for jail. What is it? It's either the blue coats, the white coats, or the black coats.
Yes.
All right. So that's how good a job I'm capable of doing of managing my life. But my thinking still sounds very good to me. Don't get me wrong. I'm a genius. I'm brilliant. But then right away, they put on top of that or next to it as an identical twin, we come to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. There's so much in the wording, there's so many little nuances and secrets in those first two steps. But basically, when it's all done and said and done again, it comes down, I can't. QED. There's something that can make me whole. And they say, people I hear all the time, restore me. They say, hey, I was never sane in the first. Shut up. What we're getting at here is that there's a great power within. And the great power that I have had within me for the last, in my case, about 25 years, was ethanol, heroin, cocaine, a lot of methadone, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and so forth. And that all, the law of diminishing returns had overwhelmed me because I was trying to take something external to alter and remedy a problem that was internal. So having had to take their word for it when they said, you're going to find the same thing that the rest of us have. And they had a glow and a sense of humor and kindness and gentleness towards me and time for me long before. And they liked me long before I liked myself, these guys. And they left me very little choice but to give it a try. And they said, well, you're going to have to throw down here. You're going to have to make some sort of commitment to make a commitment. We made a decision to turn our will and our life over. The actual turning it over turns out to be an ongoing process, not a one-time event. It's like my friend Herbie Martin used to say, and then lightning struck the shithouse. But that's not what this is. Lightning. There was that movie Caddyshack. Remember where at the end or right. At one point the preacher's playing golf and he has to get to the 18th hole green because he's shooting the best round of his life, but this thunderstorm breaks out. Yes. And he hits the putt and he raises his putter up in the sky and it gets hit by lightning or some weird.
Best laid plan.
Yes.
A Ben Franklin experiment going awry.
Going totally awry. Although Ben Franklin said the same thing. He said he nearly blew his thumb off one time. He made that kite out of a couple of handkerchiefs.
Yes.
Yes. What a bad man he was. And of course, he was a bit of a womanizer himself. And we'll get to that later. But meanwhile.
The Parisian Files.
Oh, my Lord. But so. Crazy Ben, God, what a guy.
But let me just interject one thing about Ben Franklin. He once said that the key to longevity is to have a chronic illness and take care of it. What do you think of that, Don, relative to our AA experience?
So he saw us coming. He read the handwriting on the wall. And that's basically what we do in that third step. We say, okay, clearly this is a train wreck. You guys assure me that there is a great power and if I just will pop my head out of my ass long enough to take a look, I will start to see it operating everywhere all around me and within me. I can call that God if I want. I don't have to. But by whatever name or no name I choose to experience it and perceive it, that I have to find the evidence of a power. The power itself, I personally believe, is already there. It's in my heart and my guts. The vagus nerve people will talk about the viscera, the heart, lungs, and the brain, and these nerve impulses that are flying back and forth many times per second. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating what we're learning now about the biology of spiritual, the miracle, whatever this is. But what we experience and what people have been experiencing for many thousands of years is what, Thomas Aquinas, the Stoic guy,
Marcus Aurelius.
Marcus Aurelius, Spiritus contra spiritum. and that we have inherited that wisdom in, sometime in the 1930s, a couple of crazies in Akron, Ohio, uh, and a miracle has been left for our convenience in the form of these 12 simple, here are the steps we took, and it works. And basically, we have this thing in the first 3 steps where we have this epiphany, so to speak, and then we knuckle down and face the truth about ourselves, write out an inventory. It can be extensive, it can be fairly brief. We share it with another human being and with this divine sacred energy that we, however we want to name that or leave it unnamed. The way it's worded out in the written steps is admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Because what we're going to do now is go about setting right and getting right. And we do in the next couple of steps this willingness, this process of the wording says we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Well, now you've got God again. And rather than belabor what each person may mean by that, we know that there's a power. Einstein and the boys knew it back in the 1950s. They're finding out more and more about it in modern current times, but that there's the energy that keeps, that we experience as atoms and subatomic particles operates under the exact same laws. That this entire world of existence, the ponderable reality, as somebody called it, is held together, say it however you like, by this same energy. So the religious people will say God is everywhere, and they'll be right. There was a guy named Alvan Nunez Cabeza de Vaca, Spanish explorer back in 1530, who, after an incredible adventure, shipwrecked, Category 5 hurricane in the Gulf, 6 boats sank. He made it, took him 8 years, he and 3 other survivors. Spanish conquistador, the suit of armor, all the cartoon characters ended up naked, being literally naked, no shoes, nothing, being sold from one group of Indians to the next, or transported or guided, depending on, for 8 years to get down to Mexico City to survive. He discovered he had to do some praying to get them safe passage from one tribe of Indians to another, and the prayer worked and a miracle took place. And so that when he got down to Mexico City, got a boat ride back to Spain, had another ship sank in the Azores, just out of comedy, survived that, made it back, wrote a letter to Ferdinand I and Isabella, and at the end of it he says, I discovered this, that there is a great power within, and that if it's used in immaculate purity and love, it can cure and heal and cause miracles. And if you use it, it will spread like a magic garden. And if you do not use it, it recedes from you. And that was in 1530, give or take. That letter was found a few decades ago in some archive in Spain, and has now become a matter of public record. He lived another good many years, 30, 40 years. He was a fairly young guy, he was as an aristocrat in Spain, and did all kinds of cool things. He, changed his life. But that's what we find, that there is a great power within. So we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character, say, fate, what happens next, something, but we come to have faith and confidence in something, a power of coincidence, call it whatever. This is the trouble with the words. They're not the right tool for the job. Bill Wilson did an incredible, miraculous job of using words to describe something that's beyond the power of words to describe. The 12 steps are an absolute masterpiece. I've read a little bit. My Sanskrit is not up to it. We have a friend whose Sanskrit is, and he can say tat tvamasi. He'll say that over and over again, that thou art. Whatever it is that you're perceiving or striving for, that you already are. That we are creating our own reality at all times. And then we perceive it, and then we say, oh, wonder of wonders, and no, you don't understand. No, we're each of us and all of us talking about our own perception of one another, for that matter. We could take Forlenza-Bailey, Dr. Uggs here with us. Like, I perceive this guy, we spare each other the details, in a certain way, you in a different way. And he, imagine what he thinks, who he thinks he is.
Hey.
Hey, indeed. Yeah, feed that horse, will you? Somebody. Or is that a chihuahua? Anyways, he's laughing. That's the important thing. And then we have one last bit of housekeeping, cleaning up the wreckage of the past, where we go out and get right with other people that this is my third F-bomb, over in the past, did wrong, betrayed, misled, disappointed, broke hearts. And I've noticed this, that for the men, at least 80% of the time, maybe more, when they go to their mother, who's usually pretty high on the list, and say, Mom, I feel really bad about, stealing your jewelry, even in your engagement ring.
Or your drugs out of the medicine cabinet.
Yeah, and all of that. And of course, pawning the cat, to buy crack. That was, but I'm going to try and make right. And the vast majority of the times, the mother will say, look, you just keep doing what you're doing. I can sleep at night now. So what do we not understand again? Well, that for all of the cats in the engagement rings, that woman could not sleep at night for 20 years until we finally do the miracle, those of us who are fortunate enough to do it. So we learn a lot by getting right with other people. It turns out, it starts out as the most dreadful, oh my God, I ain't doing this. And before long, it becomes, I've got one or two at the moment, but it's not easy. Especially it's not easy when you've been sober a while and you think, well, I'm done being that kind of stupid, But anyways, so we do that process. Then we're left with these final 3 steps where we continue to take a look at ourselves, face the truth about ourselves on an ongoing basis, moment by moment. This podcast, I feel like I'm not doing all that great, but who knows? I may have to make amends to Uggs back here before this is over. But let's get it over as quick as we can. And then we have this thing where we combine facing the truth about myself with a process of meditation and prayer.
Yes.
That, we could take a bunch of podcasts to look into that. It's amazing, wonderful. My God, what a treasure that turns out to be. What the world has laid out before us from those Vedic guys 7,000 years ago in India and to what happened last week at what's that church on 125th Street in Harlem? Anyways,
Riverdale.
The Get Right Church, and let's go home. Put your hands together. But there's so much, and then we go out and we spread it. We start with other alcoholics because they're closest to home. And it turns out that then a lot of times we can be a pretty good influence on family members, total strangers. So little old lady trying to get her shopping cart across the driveway at Publix. You never know where an act of kindness or humor or warmth is going to touch a person's heart.
So let me ask you one last question, and pretty much in relation to the 11th step, and I know that you're a big advocate of prayer and meditation, not just prayer or meditation.
Right.
And, in this conscious contact, and I know that your view of consciousness is a lot broader than a lot of other people, because you don't look at God as being this immanent sky daddy that is just, one individual looking down at us. I think that you see what quantum physics is trying to prove is that this divine consciousness is permeating in all things.
Yeah.
But when we look at the concept of praying only for knowledge of that power's will for us, when we use the word God, of course, praying only for knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry that out. How do you feel that has impacted your life personally, and how that has led you to do the work that you do with others, and how it's just led you to live a life of service and kindness and love?
What that has helped me to understand is what the purpose of prayer is. I would not have any idea what's supposed to happen next, who's supposed to be healed or not healed, what the will of heaven may be in my own life, much less anybody else's, whether it's somebody that I'm fond of or not, that I should say, God, please, do this or that. Do mice have shoelaces? Probably not. But there's something about, how to tie if they did. All that stupid. I have no idea. How would I know what to pray for, to ask for? Like I know what's supposed to. I have no idea. So get that out of it. It's what they're trying to teach us there is what prayer is to be used for. It's to be used so that I can then begin to learn and watch and learn. Because back at the beginning, they asked me to stop lying so much to myself and everybody else. Stop bullshitting. The first couple of steps, and then in 4 and 5, I'm going to admit to another person the exact. I'm bringing down these walls of bullshit, and I'm finding that that's safe. And in the 9th step, when I go out and make amends, I discovered that it's safe to do that. That I can go out and say, I f***ed up here, and I'm sorry, and I'd like to make right. I know we're not supposed to use the word sorry, but I regret it, and I'm willing to do what I can to get right, and time after time, the vast 90% of the time, that is surprisingly graciously received. So that over and over again, we get this, what you call faith, that this works. That just by living that way of life, everything changes. What happens next in my life changes by the spirit that I bring into the next moment. So there's my definition of everything that I have to maybe share with other people in our 12th step. We carry this message. And in the beginning, the way Bill wanted to write it was, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we carried this message to others, particularly alcoholics, and practiced these principles in all our affairs. That's the way he wanted to write it out, but he was persuaded to put the word tried in there. we tried to, and so on. But that in either case, that's the standard that we carry forward into everything we do in our life. The great Mahalia Jackson, I'm going to live the life I sing about in my song. I'm not, folks go to church and shout on Sunday and go out and get drunk on Monday. Mahalia said, no, I'm going to live this life.
I want to thank you both for a great show, and I hope this helps a lot of people. I know you helped me today. Thank you, John Barleycorn, for the intro, and thank you, John G., for your co-hosting. Your maiden voyage was stellar, and I'm looking forward to many more co-hosting opportunities in the future. So thank you so much. Also, Don K., this has been unfiltered as much as possible, I'm telling you. And you are a force to be reckoned with, an inspiration to me, and I think to other people who know you. You talk from the heart. You have a tremendous intelligence about you, and love and forgiveness is certainly a credo that I respect from you and appreciate from you. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you, listeners. Don't forget, hugs, not drugs. Harry, that great sketchbook song that you wrote in your band, take us out, buddy. We love you.